Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Pep Talk with your host, Elon Ferdman. We're about to delve into part two of my interview with our branding, brain, amazing human being, Lalita. And if you didn't catch part one, make sure you go do that. If not, get ready, or if you did, get ready for part two, where we're going to talk about how to select the right branding person for you and your business and your life. We talk about technology and how that's changing or not changing branding, I should say. And then just some of Lolita's stories, some of her highs, some of her lows, and additional tips that she can share with you guys about branding. So hope you enjoy part two, and we'll talk to you soon. I want to ask you another question for like people who would hire someone like you, because there's probably a lot of people listening and are like, I'm not even in a place to hire a branding person. But when they're looking to hire someone, so like I spoke to you, I was like, fuck yeah, you're the girl we're gonna work with. What's
I'm a super freak?
Yeah, she's a super freak, awesome branding person. I found that out later. I just thought you were a super freak, awesome human being at the time. How do you know you're working with the right person? Because we've interviewed, I went through the process where I spoke to other branding people throughout years of our business, and I was like, no, not interested. No, not interested. How does someone find a good branding person?
Do you feel like they can see you? Do you feel like you'd invite them to your? Do you feel like you'd want them to see you? Do you feel like if you had to open up about certain things, and also do you guys share the same values? Like, there are people who have a very different approach and opinion of this. There are people who will go and make brands that are interesting and persuasive potentially, but that lack, in my opinion, integrity and rootedness and credibility. To me, that's just propaganda. So it's like, that doesn't, like, media, the fact that everyone can make it and the fact that we have buttons that pushes it out to like millions of people, to me, there's responsibility there. Like, we are basically teaching people what to think, how to feel, visually, written, orally, all of these things. So it's like, at what point do we take responsibility for how we're influencing people? So my point is that people will have a different take on this. But the way that I see it is, do you trust these people? Will you have felt better for working with them? Do you feel like they have your best interest at heart? Do you feel like they'll tell you the hard things, even if you would disagree with them? And do you feel like you can see it be something that's more long-term than short-term? If you enter it thinking it's going to be a one-and-done thing, or that it's going to happen in a day, if you enter it thinking it's about a tagline, if you enter it saying, I'm going to pay this person $3,000 and they're going to make me into Seth Godin, you've already set yourself up for failure. You just have. I don't care.
Here's a haircut. Good luck.
Yeah. I'm going to take a great picture of you. No, and this is why messaging is even more important. With the onset of all these different tools that people can make, everyone can look good on the internet now. Congratulations. That's not rocket science at this point. There's all this shit. So the essence of what you're saying, the core of what you're saying, how much it resonates with people, how much of your heart you're putting into it, fuck yeah, that matters. That's your distinguishing feature. So I guess to go back to the question about, and I thought of this when you were talking, how to distinguish this process from other things is, I just had it and then I lost it. Give me a second. If you were to truly be your most self-expressed self, that in and of itself is the best marketing you'll ever have. By virtue of the fact that most people are not doing that.
Yeah.
So it's like, if a lot of the world is asleep, if a lot of the world is trying to be like X, and everyone's so used to seeing X, and you come in as B, just being yourself and being honest, that's like crazy marketing. People are like, what's my competitive advantage? I don't know. Be yourself. Say what you actually think. Have an articulate opinion. I'm saying it facetiously, but it's true. Say what you really think. Be willing to show how you feel. Maybe 15 years from now, that's not going to be great advice. But right now, when everyone is taking fake identities and making them into mass-produced Instagram pictures, there's a huge competitive advantage of just being yourself. And taking the time to figure out what that is, taking the time to have an artistic opinion and be open to people not liking it. The essence of media is tension. Someone will disagree with what you're saying. Someone will disagree with what you're doing. And if no one does, I don't know.
Get a better message.
Yeah, get a different, so I think it's really, and I know it's for a lot of people cliche, the idea of like being yourself, but like if you believe that you came here, you were born here with a certain something to share with everybody. I like to think of like, I don't want to die with the gift inside me.
Mm-hmm.
I want to have made use of all the tools that I've been given, all the skills that I've been given. I don't want to have a single regret. So if you can ask yourself, what am I not saying or showing that I would regret if I died today? The distance between where you're at now and what you want to do, that's your work. That's what I want you to talk about. And it may not be perfect when you say it. You're going to have to refine it and practice it. Wonderful. But that's your fucking path, my friend. I don't care about your banner if your message sounds like everybody else. Not because I'm judging you, but because I'm like, what are you doing, bro? You came here with something bigger than that. Like, I'm going to push you to go and get that. So that's the difference, I think, between what I do or what I believe in comparison to other branding people. Like, of course I can make you look pretty, but so can you. Go hire 15-year-old on Fiverr. Like, pay them $5. Yeah, take a selfie. I'm not. Why are you here? Like, truly, like, why the fuck are you here?
So good.
Yeah, just shit gets me pissed off.
You're so good.
Like, when people don't go and just, and to be fair, I'm guilty of the same thing. Like, there are things that I'm working on figuring out how to say. If you followed my blog, some of the comedic stuff I've done, some of it's not good. Some of it's not good, straight up. And I'm still doing it because I would regret if I didn't. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm not Hemingway. I don't know that I'll ever be. But
yeah, you're pretty good.
Thanks.
You're really good. You started talking about technology and the difference and how things are changing.
Mm-hmm.
You've been doing this for how long?
Since like 2011, 2012. So
okay.
5-ish years.
5-ish years. Okay. Have you, I guess, two-part question. One, have you seen a shift in the last 5 years with branding because of all the technology and everything that's happened? Mm-hmm. And as a follow-up to that, where do you kind of see the ball rolling in the next, because you were talking like 15 years out, it might be different. Do you see it somehow changing and altering?
Mm-hmm. I think that things are stepping away. I'll actually quote Christina Rasmussen. I don't know if you know her. She wrote the book Second First. She talks, she's a best-selling author that talks about grief and the process of like letting go and what that transition to fully living your life is. She's brilliant. And in her Facebook group the other day, she said, this Facebook group is really important to me, and it's increasingly smaller, and it's probably going to get smaller still, because as everything in the world seems to get so big, I want to keep this community strong and tight. People talk about how younger age groups, so like teens to like early 20s, are using Facebook less, and they're using things like Snapchat, where you have like curated groups of people. And if you look at things like Facebook ads, everyone's promising the same thing. Everyone's going to the very extreme of promising you the best life, the biggest life. They're pushing to the extreme of something. So the natural thing to me, like when you look at a real estate bubble, is that things are going to fall back. So there's an opportunity moving ahead to do things like creating audiences that are really well connected. A lot of people online are like, I have a list of 300,000. But how engaged is that list? How well do these people know you? How much do they trust you? Like, look at them as real people, because they are. So smaller communities, or at the very least more engaged communities. Then the second piece is making promises that are real as opposed to promises that just sell. The Facebook ads are annoying because everyone's telling me the same thing. Sponsored people that I don't even know. It almost makes your job much easier, because just by speaking something that's more neutral, that's more of the truth and realistic, there's an opportunity to come in and distinguish yourself. Everyone's over here. The crowd's here. Just stand where you already are. It's like, oh shit, who's that guy speaking the truth? He's not going to make me a billionaire overnight. Woo. You guys do a great job with the community piece. Like, people love you and trust you, and there's a lot of engagement. That's really important. I don't know if that's ever going to change. And I'll end there.
There's Guy and I mean, we've shared this with you, and we've shared this publicly also. Mm-hmm. There's a way to build a business that's just around money, and there's a way to build a business that's around impact. Mm-hmm. And we've had opportunities, plenty of them, to build businesses that have to do with money. And it's just pure and simple. Like, we can do, this 17-step process over and over and over and make millions of dollars. And every time we always go back to our why and we ask, does this fit that mission to transform the world? Right now, 100 million people. And it's like, no, that's just taking our time away from that. Mm-hmm. And I know that that's not going to fulfill me. Like, it might give me money, and I love money. Like, don't get me wrong. I love money. I really, really do. I want a Ferrari and multiples of them in my driveway. But I want to build it the right way. And that might take me 20 years to get there. Mm-hmm. But that journey of knowing myself better, actually providing value for people and building, like you said, a real community, not of just like people like want to get rich or feel good for a little while or any of that shit, but like real. It's a lot more work, and there's a lot more rejection, and there's a lot more of trying shit that doesn't work, and different messages and medias and like so many different things. And I said this on a webinar the other day, like, you have to love the process. Yeah. If you don't love the process, get the fuck out. Like, you cannot say don't love the process. And you have 5 years. Wow. And you've worked with Seth Godin. Who else you say?
So I've worked in the past, since it's been between branding and partnerships. So Seth Godin, Ramit Sethi, Jonathan Fields. I worked on the branding side of Lyft, which is much bigger in California than it is in San Francisco or New York, but competitor to Uber. Yeah. Yeah, those are some of the bigger ones.
How? Because it seems to me like, someone with your time in the industry to have worked with these kind of people, and like, this is what I keep saying to you. I do believe, like you said, that you are born to do this. How? Like, what is the thing that you've done since you were a kid that's allowed you to do this at this level? So
the short answer to that, and someone had asked me once, or like, how is it that you're so confident? And, and the thing is, my answer to what you just asked me is going to be pretty much the same to what I said to them, is that I don't consider myself a confident person because it's not even on my radar. It's not, I don't often say to myself I've almost never asked myself, how confident am I? Mainly because I'm so, like, from the time I was little, there were two things that I knew. Like, if you watch one of my TEDx talks, I talk about how I used to like pick up garbage around my neighborhood. I was like in 5th grade rallying that people stop using Gap because it was like there was child labor. Like, there was this girl who, she wasn't mentally ill, but she would probably today be told that she has autism. So she was very like a bit socially awkward. I've had lots of really socially awkward friends, and there were girls that wanted to beat her up. And so I showed up and I was like, you're not beating her up. So like, I've known from a very young age that I was here to do some major work. There was something I was here to do. And I didn't know what it was until about 3 years ago. But it was this thing that drove me. Like, I was in 5th grade making a portfolio. I do not exaggerate. Wow. Like, I was making a portfolio, getting letters of recommendation. I was always the person that felt like it was just such a knowing. It's actually, the knowing goes way beyond my concept of being a female. All these things that you would say, these are obvious. No, this to me is the only thing that I would say with utter certainty is like this fucking thing. And then the other one was that there's someone that I'm to meet that I'm also going to be doing this work with. These were the two most driving forces in my life. The pressure around them has subsided. But the answer to that is, so how did I do these things? It was that. It was like starting my own real estate business, applying to work with Seth, like being willing to take projects that have been scary and that you don't always know the outcome, but saying, I know at the very least that I will do everything that I possibly can with integrity to make this work. And getting to work with Seth, like I worked at the Domino Project with Amazon, which was a publishing venture, did partnerships with that, which is also where I learned a lot of branding. And then he liked me so much, he asked me to stay on for another 1.5 years with his other company. Coming out of that, people tend to think that if you work with someone that's worked with Seth, it's kind of like working with one of the disciples of Jesus. That I swear to God, like people were hiring me just because I had worked with Seth. They knew nothing about me. So that really helped. But really it's that there's such an innate drive in me to do whatever this thing is that it doesn't, that there's, and I've tried to do other businesses. I've tried to do other things that are outside of creativity, messaging, my own work. And I was laid off in San Francisco. They were like, you're amazing at Lyft. They're like, you're great. We love you. This isn't your place. Like, it doesn't work for me. Like the degree to which I'm able to like veer out of my lane is so small. And I don't say that from like a victim standpoint. I say that from a, like, my health fails, clients stop showing up, and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? So I was born kind of maddened by this passion to do something. And humbly too, like.
Yes, for sure.
So, yeah.
Yeah. You have an ability to just listen to people and just share their goodness in such a way. You're almost like a vessel or a portal for people to kind of like come into your life and then be like beamed out into the real world.
I love that. Thank you. That's a beautiful image.
You can steal that.
I'll borrow that one. We have super freak.
Yeah.
And vessel in which you beam them out into the world.
I'm kind of picturing like,
It's funny being a woman that you're saying that, because that's really like a funny image. Like,
yeah, you know the Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd. They have that image.
Like, yeah. With the
black
rainbow.
light comes in and then like rainbows
Maybe
out.
I'll borrow that from them. I don't know if that's like.
I think that would be some serious plagiarism.
Just a little bit.
What if you just made it like a mirror instead of a triangle doing the same thing? Would that?
No, probably not the same. We'll work on it.
We'll work on it. All right. I got a few more questions for you. One, on your journey to this, what was there a moment where you were like, oh, fuck, like, am I really going to do this? Like that low moment?
Yeah.
What was that like?
What was that like? Well, if you go to my blog, you'll see multiple posts detailing.
I'm the worst client ever.
No, you would be amazed at all the people I've dated who never, like, this guy I'm dating now is like, oh, he's Indian. He's like, I love when you send me the posts, send me them or whatever. I sounded French there, but whatever. I'm like, dude, sign up for my fucking blog. I'm not going to send you something every time I write it. Oh, that's what MailChimp's for. Anyway, end of rant. But I basically, the short of it is that I went off on my own in New York, and things were going really, really well. And then I decided to do the whole online course thing. So the thing is that branding has always happened. Like no matter if I go offline, I do nothing. People are always finding me. Even when I was at Lyft, they're like, this woman's like, I'll pay you $5,000 to fly out for a day. I just want to, and I was like, I don't know. Okay. Like I've never had to, like, does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So the low point, the opposite of that is 2 years ago, I ended an 8-year relationship. I was practically married, lost my business in real estate in New York with said guy. An entire generation of family members died in the course of 3 months. My cousin overdosed. My dad almost died. It was crazy. This was in like 6 months. And I got a new job at Lyft. It was my first job since the time in college. So I do the job transitions quickly. I'm dating this other guy, narcissist, really unhealthy. Bleh. So end of story is he's like, I want space. A week later, I get laid off. I'm sitting on the floor of my room in San Francisco, of which I pay $1,200 a month for, and it's a room in a converted house. It's small. The only thing I've eaten in the past 3 days is an apple that I've made last for 3 days. It's questionable if I should be eating it. If I should be eating that. There's a bottle of champagne that I'm nursing over the course of these 3 days.
You're allowed one bite of apple and 1/2 cup of champagne.
I wasn't leaving the house. So I call my friend and he's like, you need to fucking get up. And I'm like, okay. So he stays on the phone with me for 2 hours till I get out of the house. And I walk from the Mission to North Beach, which is really far. So this is over an hour of walking. And it's hilly in San Francisco. The thing is, the guy that I was dating didn't want me to be friends with this guy. All the things that were in San Francisco were all signs of like, the things you want, this space doesn't permit. But I kept pushing with San Francisco, the guy, and the job. The $5,000 client happened a few weeks before I got laid off. So I ended up spending 6 months traveling, really nursing myself back to like full health. And I lived while I was in Costa Rica, I lived in a meditation center for 2 months. I came out and I had this sense I had a dream in January that with the women that died, the generation, they were in the dream and they kept asking me to put this black bag over my head. And the sense was that when I did that, I would die and I would come out the other end a different way. Well, a month later, I get laid off, whatever. So I knew going to Costa Rica, you can see the picture on Instagram, I was going there to sort of have a death of sorts. And I was resisting the shit out of this, but I was like, I'm fucking going. Mind you, the girl that told me to go there was from Montreal, and post Costa Rica, guess where I lived for 5 months randomly, Montreal fucking all, wow. French Canada. So I come out of this thing in Costa Rica with a new name. People are like, what the fuck? Mind you, the name that I'm gifted is the name of my grandmother, a version of that, which is crazy. They don't know my grandmother's name. And I leave with this renewed sense of like saying yes to what I'm being given as opposed to resisting everything. And I realized that I resisted all my clients with branding. I resisted all this shit. So I said, you are going to show up fully, even if it fucking hurts.
Wow.
If you have no clients, you're going to show up every day and say, at the very least, I showed up. This meant things like replying to emails faster. We self-sabotage in stupid ways.
Yep.
Being proactive with setting meetings. Being honest about what I can and cannot do. Setting prices that feel fair, but also fair on both sides. What feels good. And I was like, I'm going to show up and I'm going to say no to what doesn't work. Within the first month, I had said no to 4 clients because none of them felt right.
While having no money.
At this point, I was still on unemployment, but yeah, I didn't have any money.
Amazing.
Yeah. Amazing. So I was like, and then I ended up bringing on 3 clients within the next few months. I moved out of French Canada, came back to Toronto to stay with a friend, and things just kept like spiraling up and up and up and up. I was being asked on webinars. Again, the only marketing I was doing was a YouTube show, Ask Juanita, which you can find, which is like obscene. It's like, I'm this Latin character trying to figure my life out about spirituality and life, and I say crazy shit, and I talk about Tinder a lot. And this was my marketing, and people were like, okay. And so my lowest was like absolute death, like truly being depressed, having to mourn 2 relationships, the death of my grandmother, all these things that I didn't want to deal with or couldn't deal with then. And then saying like, okay, universe, God, you're giving me only branding stuff. I'm going to say yes to it. There must be something to this. And I started to do it my way. Because previously, I know I've been talking a lot, the last thing I did with other clients is I hid. I didn't ask the questions I needed to ask. I didn't insist on interviewing all these people. I followed what they thought branding should be. And I was basically setting myself up to fail. Not with everybody, but in small ways.
Yeah.
And so now I'm just like, fuck it. Like, this is the way it's going down. If you don't trust me after a few phone calls, like innately, I'm just like, you know, if people trust me through my writing and you talking to me one-on-one, you still don't trust me. Like, there's just red flags for myself that I've noticed. And it's about trusting. And the gift from being depressed for that moment of time and single, like painfully single, and backpacking through Europe and South America by myself with unemployment, was when you reach a point that you feel like you can't go any lower, you really learn to trust and let people give to you. And I met the most amazing people who showed up and supported me. My family in Italy for 3 weeks fed me every day out of Airbnb just because they liked me and they saw that I was sad.
Wow.
So like, I don't recommend intentionally going there, but if you end up there, like, just know that if you do the work and you take care of yourself, there's something really awesome on the other side of it. Yeah, and I've had multiple versions of that in my life, but that was the most recent.
That's amazing. It reminds me of that line from Fight Club. It's only after you lose everything that you're free to be anything.
Yeah, because you don't care anymore. You're not, I wasn't imprisoned by like trying to be this like San Francisco startup person. And I wasn't imprisoned in a relationship that didn't value who I was. Like, once you start valuing yourself, you realize you don't need it from everyone else. And again, then people are like, ooh, that's a special quality. And they flock towards you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the last thing too is that like, we confuse why we're here. It's not to say that pursuing money is wrong, the same way that pursuing spirituality isn't wrong. But if you pursue anything too hard in any direction, or you confuse that, you get attached to it, they're all doorways to bring you back to the center, to bring you back to yourself.
Balance.
So, yeah. And they say that we suffer, and then once we're done with suffering is when we sort of like wake up. It's like, are you done with your suffering? So my question to people is, are you done with the suffering of feeling like you can't be yourself? Because that's what it really is. You feel like it's not safe, it's not successful. I will not be successful if I'm myself. I will face certain death if I am myself. That's the subtext of this. If I show up the way I want to, if I make the work that I want to make, I will face death, being ostracized, no money, starvation, whatever that is. It's not true. You may face deaths in your immediate circle and in the ways you viewed yourself, but you don't ultimately die.
Yeah.
They come out better as a result. So, woohoo to small deaths.
Woohoo to small deaths. Tagline.
Yeah, that's not grim. People are like, who the fuck is this chick?
That's amazing. Lolita, I'm so happy we did this, because usually it's us ranting, and now it's hearing you rant. This is like,
I know.
it's like a whole other side. I'm so excited.
I can rant, yeah.
That's beautiful. You ran better than we ran. It's amazing. What's your highest? Like, what's just like on that journey? What's been your highest high?
I mean, for a long time, I was working with Seth and the Domino Project. These are still some of my closest friends, people that if I don't see for a few years, it doesn't matter. Like for example, Michael Parrish Tudell, really good friend. He has written the 2 Shark Tank books, best-selling author, and now like a global speaker. But the thing is, I knew Michael, like, you know what I mean? Like, we were doing projects together and working at the Domino Project. This is someone that there's just that trust. Seth being a mentor. Alex Miles Younger, incredible designer, also Domino Project, just had a baby with Sarah. Like, these are people, like, I flew from San Francisco for his wedding. So that was for sure one of the highest. And I'd say the second highest is right now. I'm truly location independent. I love my clients. I'm leaning into creativity even more, allowing myself to be even more wild. I'm already wild, but like letting people see it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to live for a month in Miami with Rome.co, this like, right? So getting in there. So I say this is a pretty big high. Like, being happy and at peace with yourself, I think, is noteworthy. Maybe not for like Fast Company, but good. For me, it's like, I'm
So hold on. Can I ask you how old you are?
I just turned 30.
So when I spoke to Lolita the first time, I was like, you sound like you're 16, like voice wise. And for those of you guys listening in your car on your headphone, like, and you're not watching a video, you may have thought that.
I promise you I'm not 16.
Yeah. While still young, I mean, 30 is young. there's just so much wisdom. I remember I said to you, you have a voice of a 16-year-old, but you sound like you're 90. Like the words coming out of you, you're such an old soul. This was super cool for me.
Thank you.
This is super cool for me because you always like do the opposite where we rant and then you just paraphrase it. Now I got to see you. It was so fucking cool. All right. So here's the final question I always ask, which is, what's something you wish you would have known when you were younger? Like if you could go back and just tell yourself this one bit of wisdom, what would you go back and tell yourself? Something that you know today that you wish you would have known earlier.
That there's no wrong place.
What do you mean by that?
That where you're at is where you're at, and to find acceptance with that and peace and love for who you are, where you're at in this moment. You may not be where you want to be, but to love that. And the other piece too is that you don't have to fight so hard. So like, I feel like some of our gifts and our natural abilities can work against us. I feel like I'm half artist. There's elements of me that are very soft. There's elements of me that are very warrior, hard-like. And for a long time, the warrior was the only voice that led. And so I was like, I don't want to say wild, but like, it was just a lot of masculine energy, and it ran me into the ground at various points. So for me, I don't have to fight so hard. Like recognizing that I'm already doing a great job and owning sort of the caliber of work that you deliver, so that you can be gentle with yourself. So I guess the real message is to be gentle with yourself and to find yourself right wherever you're at.
I love that. I love that. There's a balance. I mean, everything that you speak about is always the balance. Like you're very big on the center.
Mm-hmm. And I think being present allows you to have that natural center.
Yeah. It takes a while to get there.
Yeah.
You have some pretty big pendulum swings to kind of find your way back into the middle. Fucking awesome. Fucking awesome.
Thank you.
I love you even more than I did before, if that's even possible.
Oh, very kind. Thank you.
So
I did my hair for this, by the way.
Me too. Look, I gave myself a haircut.
Yeah, your hair looks good.
Just so I can look good.
Nice.
Where can I find your website?
You can go to viralalita.com. That's VIRALALITA.com. Some people say viralalita. No, it's not viral. It's Viralalita. It means gentle, fiery wisdom in Sanskrit.
Obviously, that's what it means. As you just give that answer, it's like exactly what that fucking word is. So good.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys, honestly, if any of you are considering hiring a marketing person, there is no one better. Like,
thank you so much.
At least have a conversation. But you got to be serious. And I mean, she pretty much laid down the cards of like who she works with and who she doesn't. So if you're a douchebag, do not apply.
No douchebags.
But if you're awesome, douchebags. But if you have a message and you're really trying to hone it in and figure out how to share that with the world and your audience in a really, really powerful way. And it's amazing. Like you haven't even finished our project on this gung-ho.
Very close. We're over halfway. I was working on it before I jumped on this call with you.
How's it coming?
It's coming along good. We're going to be really excited. Yeah.
I'm super excited. All right, sweetie. I love you, and we'll talk real soon.
Okay. Ciao. Have a nice Friday. Bye.
Yeah. So like I said, I absolutely adore this girl so much. Sounds like a 16-year-old, talks like a 90-year-old. So super freak genius of branding. So happy to have been working with her all this time. And I hope if you guys are out there looking for a branding person, absolutely reach out to her. Have that conversation. She's worth every second that you get to spend with her. And please just leave me your comments either below the video if you're watching on YouTube, or you can shoot me an email, elon@SatoriPrime.com. Or as always, please leave your ratings on iTunes as well. Love you all, and we'll talk to you real soon.